If you're thinking about starting an EV charging business, then you're in the right place. And today we're going to talk about the type of location that all other EV charging companies are trying to go after and how we can beat them to it. If you're new here, my name's Trevor and I helped launch 2 successful EV charging startups. And now I make videos on how it all works. And I'd love if you were to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and please comment below if you have any questions about anything that I haven't covered yet. I mentioned this in my last video, but a few days ago, I went to the Everything Electric show in Vancouver at the convention center. And the Everything Electric show is just a giant convention of everything to do with EVs and EV charging. So I saw a lot of people that I knew there in the industry and was having lots of great conversations. And it was super interesting hearing about their business and the types of targets, the types of locations that they're going after. Now, when I was launching those other EV charging companies, specifically the second one, at first we played around with different locations to go after. We were focused on businesses, lots of different commercial style locations, government locations. And what we were finding was there was pros and cons to each one. And ultimately, through a lot of trial and error, we realized that condos were such a great opportunity. And what I mean by condos, some people call it multi-unit family buildings, multi-unit residential buildings, apartment buildings, call it whatever you want. Just imagine a giant building that a whole bunch of people live in. But I'm just going to use condos to keep it simple. And there's so many amazing reasons why condos are just like a little gold mine for EV chargers. And one of the biggest reasons is 80% of people like to charge at home. Makes sense, right? You want to leave your car there for a while and charge somewhere that you can chill. And another great reason is in a condo building, you have countless people that live in the building. They're going to be there all the time. These are all your customers. Now, how other EV charging companies are approaching this is very different from what I would recommend. A lot of them are focused on more of a mass numbers game, or more like they're trying to scale as much as possible and just get as many EV chargers out there as possible. I don't think this is the right way to do it. It is one type of business model if you're really focused on reselling the hardware. So if you're making profit off of actually selling the EV chargers, then yeah, it makes sense. The more that you sell, the more money you make, right? But the more that you have out there means a lot more operation and maintenance and service and more problems that could potentially arise. And this is one business model, but there's pros and cons, right? The more that you sell, yeah, you're making profit up front, but that means there's a lot more chargers out there that you're not really making that much money on month after month. For me, I'd rather just have a handful of chargers out there that are making a ton of money, and that's less chargers to keep in my mind and worry about that are maximizing the amount of profit out there. And I go into this in a lot more detail in a step-by-step guide in my course below. So check that out if you want the exact game plan. So what these other EV charging companies are usually doing, specifically in condo buildings, is they'll like to get the entire building, right? They want to put chargers in every single residential stall. So for example, if there was a building that had 300 units, they would at least have 300 residential parking stalls that match whatever that unit number is, where that person will go and park every day. And they want to put a charger in every single one of those stalls. And how they make money month after month is there's a few different ways that they do this, but usually it's based on a set monthly fee that the building or the resident will have to pay to have that charger in their stall. This would cover things like the transaction fees or the networking fees. Sometimes some of the profit goes to the EV charging company, oftentimes not. If the building paid for everything, then they are going to try to take all the revenue that goes into the chargers, right? And another downside to this is hard to sell. It's hard to convince a building to install 300 chargers when they bring it to a vote in the meeting and they see the cost to install all those chargers, mostly the cost of upgrading their electrical system to support all the chargers. 9 times out of 10, they freeze up and they're like, no way, we're not going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to install all these EV chargers when only 20% of the people that live in the building actually drive EVs at this point. But we're going to use this to our advantage. For our EV charging company, we're not really that interested in installing an EV charger in every single residential stall, because for us, we want the revenue that goes into the chargers, and that just means one person each day is going to use that one charger. That doesn't sound very good to us. What we want is a whole bunch of people using one charger, right? So we're going to focus on a common area. Let's say the visitor parking, for example, where you can put a couple chargers there And everybody in the building, whoever drives an EV, can just drive down and plug in, use our chargers, and we make all the revenue that goes into it. Oftentimes, a way that we can negotiate to keep all the revenue is if we pay for the chargers. And that's not as big of a deal if we're only putting, let's say, 1 or 2 chargers in the visitor parking. We then own the chargers. We get all the rebates to help pay us back for a big portion of our investment. And we get 100% of the profits that go into the chargers because they're our chargers. We own them. And this is way easier to sell to a building. If a group of people have to agree on something, are they going to choose to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for everybody to have their own EV charger? Or are they going to let this awesome company that's willing to pay for it all install their chargers? And yeah, we got to give up some of the revenue that goes into the chargers, but no big deal. And I go into all the best ways and the best strategy to use for your business in my course below. There's 22 videos in a step-by-step process on everything you need to do at each step along the way of setting up your business. I also have downloadable PDFs that you can use for your business, like a template for your contract and an ROI calculator. So this is how we differentiate ourselves from our competition, win projects, and make way more money. Thanks so much for subscribing, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.